It's been a bit over a year since the first time I actually reviewed a strap, and I remember before doing that thinking, how much can there be to say about a strap? Well, as it turns out, quite a lot. And Artem has just improved pretty much all of it on this new one. Hi everyone, and welcome to Shaluso. And yes, today I am talking about the new Artem loopless straps. So to give a bit of background, a bit over a year ago, I first reviewed the Artem Sailcloth Straps, and I really liked them. And I remember when I was first doing that review, I remember thinking to myself, you know, have I sort of gotten in over my head? How can I make an entire video just on a strap? As it turns out, there's quite a lot to say about a strap, and more importantly, I think Artem is one of those companies that realizes how much there is, how much goes into a strap, and makes that conscious effort to improve it. So you can imagine I was pretty happy when they came out with this new one and reached out to me saying, hey, do you want to review this one? What could they have actually improved? And it turns out there was quite a lot. Now, before I get into the positives and negatives on what sort of changed with this strap, first I'd like to highlight, I think, one of the most important things about Artem Sailcloth Straps in general, which is that distinctive look. Now, if you saw my original review, it's distinct look, a very distinct look, a distinctive look, that distinctive look. But it is true, these straps really do change the look on your watch in a way that we're not really used to when it comes to, like, you know, with leather straps, rubber straps, and NATOs. And also something that has changed since when I did my original review was, obviously, now I had a new watch to put it on. And when I put this strap on my Breitling Chronomat, honestly, I was blown away by the new dimension that sort of added to the watch, because the Chronomat was originally meant to be a pilot's watch. And one of the things I noticed when putting this on my divers was that it made it look a lot more sort of tactical, a lot more, it was something for, like, you know, a Navy diver or something like that, some sort of armed forces versus just sort of a conventional, you know, I guess, civilian diver. With this Artem strap, it was a similar case in terms of making my Chronomat look like it wasn't a watch for a commercial pilot or for someone who flies their own plane, but for an Air Force pilot. It just looked so much more tactical, even with the little gold accents, because mine has the two-tone bezel. Still, it looked a lot more like something you would actually find in a cockpit. So it really is interesting, especially on tool watches, how these straps in general really affect the personality of a watch and what they really bring to the table, in addition to the differences in terms of comfort and usability. Now, getting to how these compare with the original straps. Now, if you want to know in general about the history of sailcloth straps, as well as the advantages and disadvantages to these Artem straps in general, make sure you check out my original review, because a lot of those positives especially do carry over. And also, they've improved dimensions that I didn't even notice. They took things a little bit further. So let's start out with the positives. First thing is that the overall design is much more streamlined. They've revised how they did the bolstering. Also, the stitching seems to be a little bit thinner, a little bit finer, whereas on the other one, it's a little bit thicker. And there's the most obvious thing, which is they've taken away the loop minders. Now, I'm someone who loves using deployant clasps, and I'm a big fan of the Omega style ones or Hublot style ones that hide the strap underneath because they don't need minders. And in general, it makes for a much more streamlined look. This strap was designed for those sorts of clasps. And you can tell. Even they have this little insert for where the holes are, to make sure that the holes are just the right size for fitting an Omega style deployant clasp with that regular sort of pin size. I actually ended up retrofitting an aftermarket Omega style clasp on my Artem strap and cutting off the loop minders. I now kind of regret that because it didn't really work. It's a bit of a Frankenstein, but this works absolutely perfectly. And it's because they've done this whole redesign to design it specifically for that type of clasp. And it's just so much more streamlined. Has a much lower profile on the wrist, and it looks just as good, if not better, than a lot of OEM style straps. And without a doubt, that new design, just all those new little details sort of sum up. This definitely feels, I guess, justified. I mean, this strap costs like $50 more than the regular Artem strap, which is already very good. But this one just feels so much more refined. It feels even more in place on a luxury tool watch. And then the other thing I want to highlight is the clasp itself. I mean, they're pretty unashamed. They call it the Omega style clasp. But the thing is that this one actually feels like it should be competing with the one that Omega makes. If you look at the edges and the parts where different components meet, it just seems at that level. It seems like this has a place competing with that. You know, they've taken Omega's design style and matched it pretty much like for like. So this isn't something that you would compare with, you know, other deploying clasps that are sort of trying to take that Omega style and ergonomics. Comparing it, for example, to the one that I retrofitted onto my previous Artem strap, you can see the difference right away, even with the PVD ones. You know, on the PVD one, you can still see that differential finish. You can see how the edges are all much sharper. You can see that they actually put so much more effort into making this a good quality clasp, and also the feel. My aftermarket one, sometimes it opens on its own. Sometimes it doesn't close properly. You can feel parts sort of grinding against each other. This has none of that. So without a doubt, you compare this to the $300 you have to pay for an Omega one, it's money well spent. I generally tend to get these aftermarket clasps for my watches because I don't like pin buckles. And I will now happily spend the extra money to get an Artem one over, you know, some of these nondescript imitation ones that really, they're just cheaply made. Now moving on to not so much the negatives, but I think just things to be aware of when it comes to cross-shopping between the regular Artem straps, which now, by the way, are available in blue. So they've also addressed that by introducing colors, and these new loopless ones. The first one being is the length. The length does vary quite a lot between the two different styles. The loopless ones are much longer, and also especially they're longer on the 12 o'clock side, which if you have a smaller wrist like mine, my wrist is 17 centimeters, I'm on the last hole, it fits fine. However, the clasp itself is moved off all the way to the side, which on the one hand is a little bit easier in terms of like lowering the profile a bit more and where it distributes it. But for me personally, I would have liked it to be a bit more centered relative to the watch so that it could just feel a bit more on balance. And the other thing, at least as of shooting this video right now, it's February 2022, they don't have an option for the quick release spring bars for the loopless one. For now, at least, you have to resign yourself to the standard ones, which offer quick release or non-quick release, depending on how much money you want to spend. And now that being said, if you do end up opting for the regular one, you don't have to be left sort of stranded in terms of just having a pin buckle or, you know, making a bit of a Frankenstein like what I did with mine. Artem also makes a really nice Richard Mille style leaf spring deploying clasp, which fits perfectly. It works well in tandem with the minder loops, and also it's extremely well made as well. Now, I don't know how much Richard Mille charges for its clasps. I do know with quite a lot of certainty that they're not $73, and that's what this is. And again, you really don't feel like you're missing out on anything. The finishing is still really good. The tolerances are extremely tight, and it works perfectly well. When I first got this, I was playing around with it all the time just to sort of feel if, you know, if maybe it would give way or loosen up a little bit after like 50 open and closes, but it really didn't. It stayed consistent, and that again is testament to the quality that Artem puts into its designs and making sure that every single thing works and feels like it came direct from a watch manufacturer, but without actually making it cost as much as the watch manufacturer. But bringing it back to this strap style, I really think it's a great addition to the Artem line. It has a lot of improvements on the original, but they still have the original to address any of the shortfalls of this one. So they work great next to each other to give you those options. But let me know in the comments below, what are your thoughts? What are some straps that you think could use the Artem treatment and that could be improved? Because I definitely like the idea that Artem really is focused on improving and making the best product possible versus just spamming with different color variations. I continue to be excited to see what they do in the future. 2022 has already been really busy at the time of me filming this. They just released their new blue sailcloth straps in the standard version. They also released a new line of NATOs inspired by the Omega ones as well. I'd really like to see what they introduce to that line, because that is definitely an area where I think they can introduce more variation as well. So I'm really excited to see what they do throughout the rest of 22 and in the next few years. And if you're looking for a strap that is durable, that you can use pretty much anywhere, and that is really, really high quality, I definitely recommend you check out Artem Straps. You'll find a link to their website in the description below. And of course, if you like this video, make sure you like it and share it. If you want to see more pictures and infographics of watches as seen throughout this and all my other videos, make sure you follow me on Instagram at Shaluso. If you want to see more videos of watches, then make sure you subscribe to the channel and hit that notification bell as well so you know when the next video comes out. In any case, thanks for watching this video, and we'll catch you on the next one.